Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another stream of MakeCode Arcade in the advanced section. I am Daryl at Darzu on the forum.
I'm Joey at JWonderl on the forum.
I'm Shannon. I'm at Shakao on the forums.
And I'm Richard at Richard on the forums.
Awesome. So last time, guys, on the stream, Richard, with the help of all of us, built this game idea generator. And I think today we would like to use some of the ideas generated and maybe make a game out of one of them. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, sounds good. Almost like we prepared this beforehand.
Yes. Cool. So let's see how this works really quick and do a quick overview of it before we pick our game. So the idea is that you have these things scrolling by, and when you hit the A button, you lock in one of them, and then there's four different things. So this told us to make a haunted puzzle set in the ruins featuring a time limit. That's a very plausible game. So let's take a look at the code real quick. So we have these lists of these ideas for these different categories, and then we use this helpful extension that Richard coded on the fly that creates a text sprite, and we use that to create sprites that are text, and we made them fly across the screen. And when you hit the A button, it selects one of them. I think this is the code for having them kind of fly across the screen. Is that right? Or this is the code that creates the sprites, which includes a velocity, so they'll be sort of zooming across the screen. Anyway, check out our last stream if you'd like to know how to do some of this. Also, if you're interested in how to make your own custom blocks using text-based language, last stream was probably also a good thing to tune in for a lightning preview of that. Okay, so let's pick a game, huh? Okay, let's. What do you guys think? Should we just run it once and do that, or should we run it a few times and pick the best?
Let's run it once and anyone can veto.
I like it. All right. I'm going to restart and click, 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 click. Okay, relaxing platformer set in a city, single button. Huh. I kind of like it. The single button thing, I don't think we've built a single button game yet.
Well, we did Falling Bird.
You did Falling Duck for a weekend.
Oh, sure, of course, yeah, for like a week. What do you guys think? Too boring or interesting?
It sounds very much like Cannibalt.
Yeah.
I worry that we would just end up making Cannibalt.
Well, I don't know what Cannibalt is, so.
It's like a platformer where you're running across the tops of buildings as they collapse, and it's a single button, so you just jump to the next building.
Yeah.
I feel like you could do totally different things from that, but like, I mean, it would be, I guess, a platformer, presumably with you already in motion, but.
I think I'm going to veto this one just because I think single button platformer is just a little too prescriptive.
Sounds good. All right, next up. Colorful, racing, school, single button. Wow, you love the single button. So racing in a school, what would that even look like?
You could have a hall monitor who is just like flagging kids who are racing through a school.
It could be like a sneaking game that is like racing in that you have to get there first, but the thing you have to do is like avoid, maybe.
Like,
Yeah. So it could be that you're moving and you press A to stop.
Yeah.
Like people could be like walking through the hallway, so you stop before you get caught, and then you keep going.
Wow, I kind of like that. What do you guys think?
kind of like green light.
We haven't done a stealth game yet, so this could be good. Okay. Yeah, let's do it. So colorful racing school single button. I'm gonna open up a new tab. Actually, I'm not gonna do a new tab. I'm gonna use this old tab. Just gonna go to the home page and say new project. Okay, so I'm just gonna name it like this.
11th stream.
What's that?
It's our 11th stream.
Yes. I was thinking at the end we'd come up with a good name. Did I spell that right? 11th?
Yep, that's
right. Colorful Racing School Single Button. We'll come up with a better name at the end.
So catchy. How could we improve?
Yes. Okay. So let's see. Where do we start? So let me think about who our protagonist or maybe anti-hero protagonist will be. A student trying to avoid getting caught or something else?
How about a student pushing an AV cart who is trying to get to a class before it like starts or something because they need the projector.
Right. So AV, you mean like audiovisual equipment stuff?
Yeah. I don't know if this is a thing in schools today, but back in my day, we had these people who would, take all of the audiovisual equipment between all of the different rooms because not every room had a projector or an overhead projector in the case of my school.
Is this giving you flashbacks, Richard?
A little bit.
All right. Sure. Yeah. Student pushing a cart. So let's see. I think top down would be easiest. I'm not sure how I would do it not top down.
Well, also, does anyone else have any ideas? I don't want to steamroll it.
Oh yeah, let's think of a few ideas. It could be a student just, trying to avoid teachers and stuff, trying to dodge class or something. Not sure those are values we want to encourage on the stream, but
it could be a school where they recently waxed the floors. And they're trying to slide as far as they can without getting noticed.
Have you guys ever done office chair racing?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could do office chair racing, and then you're just trying to avoid the teachers, or?
Yeah.
That could work.
So, but what are we picturing, like, kind of end to end for this game? Like, so it's one player, and you have to get to the end of something, and when you press the button, you stop moving, and you do that in order to like dodge something. Is that the general setup, or?
Yeah.
I think so. Oh, here's another idea. So you know how in schools the doors all have windows?
Yes.
So we used to do this thing where when we were running through the halls, not me because I was a good kid, but where when you get in front of one of the doors, you slow down for a second and then you keep going. Also happens in Ferris Bueller. It could just be that all of the doorways have like places where they can see you and you have to press A to slow down, and then we just like do it based off time, or we could do a 2-player racing.
I was sort of envisioning something where you're kind of going down a hallway, and then there's junctions, and perpendicular to the hallway you're going down, like periodically somebody, maybe like a teacher or something, is walking through your hallway, and they have like a cone of sight in front of them, and you're trying to avoid kind of being seen, and so you have to like stop and go. That might just turn into basically Frogger.
I don't think so. It's single button.
Yeah.
I like all the other.
It sounds like we at least decided on what the gameplay is. You're running, and then you stop when something's about to see you.
Yeah, just start with that, and then see how that goes. Okay, so I'm going to try and draw a sprite. I think I might just go... Okay, let's see how I do it top-down stick figures. I don't think it's going to be good. I think we're going to need some animations to make this look good. So here's a head. Oh, geez. And here's some arms.
Oh, I don't think their arms are supposed to be bending that way.
Well, the idea was it was like, running like this. The animation would be the arms sort of toggle back and forth.
I see.
And maybe these are the feet. This just this isn't looking like a person. Any idea? Should we just Google some or
So
Bing?
typically in top-down games, you don't actually show them from the top; you show them from the front.
Oh, I see. So let's
Like
see
if you imagine The Legend of Zelda or things like that, you show the character in profile.
Right. So kind of like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna start with that. As we say in previous streams, you can always come back. I think I'm not gonna draw a face because I'm not sure which direction the face should look yet. But maybe I will draw some hair. Yeah, let's have some orange hair. Okay.
Look like he's wearing a little construction hat.
Yes, many ways to interpret this character. All right, so now I want them to move in a pattern. I wonder if we should try the SVG paths again, the animation paths. I guess there's no real way to stop those, though, is there?
Yeah, no, there isn't.
Okay.
I mean, there is with the stop all animations, but I think it's going to end up getting really complicated because we'll have to like resume from where they stopped.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now I need to think about how we make a path that they follow. So maybe what I do is on a tile map, I have certain tiles that indicate direction change, and then when the sprite overlaps those tiles, they change their velocity. So then we sort of draw a level with arrows, and maybe the user can also get visual cues on what the person is going to do by the tile map. What do you guys think of that?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. As a future gameplay element, maybe you could place some of those direction tiles yourself, but that might be very different. Okay, so I've got a tile map. So school hallway, let's see. Do we have something that maybe under dungeon that sort of looks...
that tile. That,
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is this supposed to be... That's ground tile, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me fill everything with ground tile. And then let me use some wall tiles. So we've got many directions. I think I'm gonna go with pink tiles.
That is a purple tile, Daryl.
Purple.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well, the top looks pink to me. Okay, let's do it like this. Eventually, we have this idea that we want to build in like a nice tile set painter so that you don't have to change tiles every time you're brushing, but no promises on when that arrives. Okay, so now to draw hallways, do we have like a T intersection tile?
No, but we have the inner ones. So you see those ones in the middle?
Oh, yeah, like this?
Yep.
Okay, so let me think about how I might want to do a lot of level edit, like designing before I sort of set everything in stone. And so I'm not sure I want to draw with this tile set just yet. So I'm going to use some placeholders to sort of signify where the walls are going to be. So let's just do a purple block right now. So I'm thinking maybe you start there and
I think think it will need to be 2. Well, actually, your sprite was little.
I guess that's true, but I mean, wow, I feel like 2 is a more looks like a school hallway. I don't know.
Yeah. Are you saying they have to be too wide, or the walls have to be too wide, right?
I think the hallways are going to have to be too wide for you to navigate like comfortably.
Yeah. All right, let's do that. I'm gonna shift this down, and then do we have an eyedropper tool?
If you press Alt, you can click on the tile.
Oh, Alt. Nice. Awesome features.
Secret eyedropper.
Okay, in that case, maybe it's going to be fairly open here. Let me see. Just sort of coming up with something. We'll see how this ends up working. Oops. Not sure why the school would look like this. Okay, let's just work with it, and then we'll see. So I'm going to add some special tiles for starting and then direction change. So start, let's just add, actually, what I would like to do, is there a way I can duplicate one of the existing tiles?
Not right
Nope.
now.
Oh.
Okay.
Widely requested.
What's that?
There's a widely requested feature.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna just draw a, let's see, maybe like a pink circle for start. And then I'm going to draw some arrows as well. So let's do this direction.
Someone's mic is a little loud.
Oh, I won't actually be able to rotate, so redraw. Is it better? Maybe it was my mic.
A little better.
Why is that? Okay. So, oh, whoops. No, I changed my other arrow. Okay, so I'm just going to draw arrows in each direction. Not sure they're all going to look the same. And again, the idea is that when the player overlaps, oh, I've forgotten which ones I've added.
You've done
Down. Okay, need to do this one up. Oops. Keep forgetting to switch into the line tool. So the idea is when the player is overlapping with one of these arrows, then their velocity changes to match. And I need left. Okay. And then I'll probably just start with that and see if I can get that working. Oops. Not sure they're all consistent with each other, but close enough for now. Okay, so let's have the player start here, and it does make the tile disappear, but we'll see if we can fix that later. And then maybe they turn here, turn here. For unknown reasons, we can make this fairly complicated. Right. Down, right. I think this is a mechanic that can be used in a lot of games. Have you guys ever played a game called Dwarves?
No.
It's a game where as the player, basically what you do is you place these arrows, and then a team of mining dwarves go and just mine stuff. Pretty fun. Okay. And then I'm just going to make this a loop because I don't know what else to do yet. Okay. So does that seem like that should work, sort of?
Sure. Yep. Just remember that the player needs to start going to the right.
Yes, I see. Right. To visually indicate that, I'm going to do a little arrow in here. Okay. Great. Let's do that. And now let's see how, whoops, where did our tile map go? See, it's a tile map.
Oh no, you just lost it. Oh yeah, this is a bug. If you press undo while you're in the tile map editor, sometimes it Blockly takes the undo and.
Oh, I see. Okay, I'm just gonna whirlwind redo some of that. So this time I'm not gonna bother with walls on the outside. Just gonna fill this in, go to my tiles, add these arrows. And this time I'm gonna just draw them with the pencil tool. They don't need to be perfect. They will not be perfect, but actually, since they're not trying to be perfect, then it's more clear that they're placeholder. Let's go up and, oops. Let's go up. And we need the starting tile. And we needed the wall block. Let's do sort of purple. Okay. Just gonna add some walls. I think it's okay to have fairly big corridors since we can actually move along them in both directions. Okay, so we start here. Let's go down, right, down, right, down, left, up, right. And let's just start with that, and we'll see how that works, and we can always add more later. Okay, great. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this to, I'm going to call our player Joe. I like names. Okay, so this is Joe.
How do you feel about that, Joey?
Joe, not Joey. So.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm used to it.
I'm gonna say, okay, so we want our player to start on top of this tile. So I'm gonna use place Joe on top of random block. And now, even though it's on top of a random block, since there's only one of them, it's deterministic. And we know that it will always place on top of that block. So that works out. Great. Now, in the beginning, we know that we want to go to the right. So I'm gonna go and say velocity is to the right for Joe. And great, now we start that way. And so we went off the screen. So what we need to do is have the camera follow us. So I'm going to say camera follow sprite. Note that the search can be pretty handy for a lot of things. Now let's see how we go. So we're moving to the right, and the camera is following us, and nothing happens when we hit that arrow. Okay. Now, let's see. So to move down, we're going to need a number of overlaps conditions. The easiest way, let's see, do we have a scene on overlap? We do, right? Yes. Player overlaps block. So we're going to need 4 of these, one for each direction. Let me start with the down. So I think it's going to be as simple as when we hit that, then we just set our velocity to be down. So again,
I think this is gonna be a little weird. Yeah.
I see. So what we want to do is wait until we're halfway over the tile. Can I just do a pause in here? Is that
No, that
work?
should be blocking.
Yeah, and also that would be pretty.
I see.
That would be very difficult to calculate, I think.
Well, we could just do it with trial and error, but yeah, I won't use pause for now.
I think it would drift, though, if we did that
You could
strategy.
just manually shift the position.
Right.
So there is a place on location block in the scene.
Oh,
Location coming in for the overlap.
Right.
Or above your
So
cursor.
this
A little
one?
more. One more.
This one.
There you go.
Yeah. So that would place the sprite on top of the block, right? But then you'd still, wouldn't you have like a flash motion change?
Yeah, but that would just make sure you're always aligned. Because I think that if you do any of these other strategies, you're going to get into a case where it'll be like one pixel off in one, and then one pixel off and then another. And as you hit more and more arrows, it's going to drift until it's not hitting arrows anymore.
Right. So what if I just do a condition in here? Because this event is going to be firing every time it's overlapping. So could I just do a condition to make sure I'm exactly in the center?
But you might not be exactly in the center because one frame could take more time than the other frame, and you could go 2 pixels instead of 1. So I think that the behavior would be more like if you get past the center, go back to the center and set your velocity.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So that sounds good. Now we have this location there, so we can compare our location to that location, right? And see if we're past the center. So is this location the center of the block?
So there's no way to get the location out of there, I don't think.
In blocks,
so what you're probably going to have to do is like do an integer divide, or do a modulo actually, and then see if you're above 8.
Right, because of the tile size.
Yeah.
Can I use the hitting? No, I can't.
No.
Okay. Let's see here. So, right. So from the location, so this integer divide, I would still need to do that on a piece of the location?
No, so you can just do it off the sprite. So you figure out the offset of the sprite within the tile because it's on a grid. And so you can say, if you already know it's overlapping, so you don't need the specific location. You can just see if the modulo is over 8, and then you're good.
Yes. Okay, great. So I'm going to use this property. I'm going to go to grab a conditional, and I'm going to say if the sprites, Joe, if their x position, so I actually don't know if the x, I guess I could check both of them.
Well, you're moving down, so it's probably a
You have to be coming from the
unless
side,
you have
probably.
some kind of
Yeah, we don't know which direction you came in from, though.
Yeah.
Well, you just check the velocity.
So let's do the remainder of this by the tile width, right? Which would be 16. If the remainder divided by 16, that tells us the offset within the block is less than or greater than 8, right?
This isn't going to work, though. You're actually going to have to use the right. Because the overlap starts, or wait, actually, that might not be true. Never mind, I think this will work, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's going to first trigger when you're like within the tile to the left in this one.
That's true.
So this one won't work.
Right.
Because this is going to be true immediately because you're on the right side of the tile to the left of it.
So if you did the right is greater than 12, you should be good.
If the right is greater than 12, I see. So the right is greater than 12. Let's see how that goes. Yeah.
And I think we have to do this for each incoming direction.
Yes. Each incoming direction. I'm thinking about this time delay thing again. I wonder if that would just be easier. Because if we just calibrate the time delay just right, and then
you can actually just do this once, right? Because it doesn't matter which direction you're going to be going in. The tile overlap logic is always the same. So we can do this in a function. We can pass in the velocity, and then we can do it all in the overlap handlers. So it'll do one if statement with 4 cases, and then...
Right. That's true. Okay, so let's get this one. So this is when you're coming from the left, then we check the right greater than 12. Also, let's see, do we want greater than 12? I think we want a little bit less than that, a little bit more than that. Wait,
yep.
Maybe 14?
How wide is your player character?
That's a good question. Yeah, we can do this scientifically. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 inside of a 16 by 16 with 4 spaces here. So that would mean, so is the right going to be the side of the image or the side of the sprite?
Should be the side of the sprite.
Box. So
okay. So 11, but then let's see, why was... Oh, 11 plus like 3 or something, right? Because we're sort of... Okay, so this I think is going to look a little bit better. And then we can also...
Ooh, I just thought of a way easier way to do this.
Okay.
So right now we're using the overlap for overlapping the tile, and that's what's kind of making this complicated. But if we made those tiles walls, and then we just detect when we collide with the wall, and then just go in the direction that the tile is pointing, then instead it would handle all this positioning stuff for us, and it would give us an event right when we want to turn.
Wait, so if we made them walls, then we couldn't go through them, though, right?
So you move them into the wall. So it's like the side of the wall tells you what direction you hit, and then you go along.
Oh, so not the tile you overlap, but the wall you run into.
Yep.
Yeah, let me see. So we would need to have walls along every place you could run into. So how would you do something like this one? Which you're coming from this direction.
So my suggestion was actually to make those walls. And so you would be running on basically the inner curve, if that makes sense. But because our hallways are too wide, it should be okay. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It restricts a little bit how we can build this. Okay, let's try that. So, I mean, that's essentially what we had at the very beginning, wasn't it? I mean, just when you overlap with this, it's kind of like hitting it as if it was a wall.
Yes, but you don't have to worry about the alignment because you'll always be aligned, because when you hit the wall, you can't go any farther.
Right.
But we don't have a way to detect.
Okay, so in the interest of the stream moving, Daryl, just keep going wherever you want to go with this. Ignore my suggestion.
I think it's a good idea. So yeah, well, one thing about this stream is we did not plan beforehand what it was going to be, so we're finding us brainstorming on the fly. You know, I'm gonna actually try the delay tactic because I think that's gonna be not too bad, and I think
you can't delay in that handler though.
Right. So I won't delay in the handler.
We don't have run in parallel in arcade, so.
Well, sorry, not delay with using pause. I was going to use the lifetime thing.
Okay.
Oh, I see.
So let me just try it real quick. So Joe, set lifespan to something small, like 20, and then sprites on destroy player. Let's set the velocity down, and we're gonna have to recreate Joe. So I'm going to factor this real quick into a function to create Joe, and I'll move this into there. I'm going to call this function at the start of the game. Oops.
Oh.
Let me get that back. Create that at the start of the game, and then we also want to say create Joe here, and the position is going to have to be the same as it was. Oh, actually, no, I don't want that block. I'm going to say set my sprite position to the x value here and y value there of Joe. So for those of you that didn't follow the Flappy Bird stream, so basically what we're doing is lifespan is a property on all sprites, and what it says is that after this many milliseconds, the I'm going to set that to 500, which is half a second. After this many milliseconds, destroy that sprite, and you might think, well, destroying the sprite is not what we want, but in this case, it kind of works like a timer. So in 500 milliseconds, the sprite will be destroyed, and then when it's destroyed, we're gonna instead of here, actually, I need these local references. Instead of destroying it, I'm gonna immediately recreate it so the player doesn't feel like it was destroyed. And this just gives us a handy event to trigger after a certain amount of time. And then I set the new sprite's position to exactly where the old sprite was, and I set the new velocity that we're going to want. So how I transition the velocity is something I still need to do, but let's see how this is working right now. Okay, so after a little bit of time, we were just destroyed and not recreated, I think. Can anyone see what I'm missing so far?
So it's being recreated, but it's being recreated on top of the same tile.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so it's running again. Ooh, I see. This is tricky.
So we can change the tile to a regular tile after you hit it.
That's true. All right, let's do that. That sounds, so you'll only hit each location once, but that should be totally fine for our game. So I'm going to set this tile at the location right after I hit it. So it sort of consumes it. Okay, and now we're still disappearing. Okay, so creating on sprite of kind player destroyed. We create another sprite, and we set the position to where the old sprite was, and we...
Oh, you're doing sprite X, sprite X.
But that's the local variable. The thing
Change the second one to Y.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. It's handy to have many eyeballs.
I also think you're going to have to move the camera follow into the create Joe function.
Oh, yes. As we just saw. Good call. Let's do that. Okay, so now let's see how this works. So in the interest of testing quicker, I'm actually going to move the start block to about here and go back to that dungeon tile there. This should help us sort of test things quicker. All right. Cool. So that seemed to work okay. I think I just need to calibrate this. So I'm going to just do half every time. So that was pretty good. What do you guys think of that timing?
I mean, yeah, let's just keep trying it out.
Yeah. Okay, great.
So I would say put it in a variable so we can tweak it, because we're going to have a bunch of these handlers.
Right. It's true. One other thing I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to say place sprite on top of tile. So, oh no, I deliberately don't want to do that. Okay, yeah, we'll see how this plays. Great, so now we've got the downward direction working. So one thing I need to do is here when the sprite is destroyed, I need to know which direction to move it. And that decision is made on this overlap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce a variable, and this is going to be called new velocity x, and I'm going to need an x and a y component. New variable, new velocity y. So notice that you can have space in variable names in Blockly, and that works just fine. So y velocity is going to be positive 50, and then here I'm going to say we use these variables instead of this hard-coded value. Great, so now I think this is a little bit more generic, and I'm going to refactor this to a function, but before I do that, whoops, I'm just going to see how this works for one other direction. So now if we go in the left direction, and now we don't say 0, and now we say negative 50, okay, let's see how this works. So down, left. Okay, so that's more or less working. It's a little bit off track, but that's okay. So now that
so one way you could fix that is if you set the location to a variable.
Right.
Place on in the
totally
set position.
Great idea. So let's do a new variable here, and new location is gonna save the location that we got from the collision, and then when we are when we've destroyed the sprite, actually we don't need to do this block anymore. I'm gonna keep it around just in case. Instead, we can say place my sprite on top of, so place Joe on top of this variable that has the location we care about, and I think that will be perfect. Oh, that's interesting. Oh,
You're just
yeah,
not
is this
setting it in the other
Yeah,
overlap.
you only set it in one of the overlap.
Okay, so I'm going to make a new function. This is going to be called, let's see, on overlap arrow. And let's move this down over here. So all of these go into there. And this is going to need some parameters for the velocity. And I think that's it. So I'm going to edit this and say two number parameters. The first one is going to be Vx, and the second one is going to be Vy, which are short for velocity x, velocity y, new velocity x, new velocity y. And then we can call our function here. And so when we're going down, it's going to be 0 in the x, and the y is going to be 50. Now I don't need any of this. Copy paste that. And when we go left, we want to say x is negative 50, y is 0. And oh, we lost the location. I don't think
we don't have function. So in blocks, we only have a certain number of parameter types that are allowed, and those are number, string, boolean, and sprite. Location is not one of those, so you're going to have to set it outside of the function.
Okay, that is true. So I can do that just in each location like this.
It'll work. It's just a little redundant.
Yeah, a little bit of redundancy. Never hurt anybody. Okay, so let's add the other two cases that I care about. So we've got, we need to do right arrow, we need to do up arrow, and for the right arrow, that's going to be positive 50, and for the up arrow, that's going to be negative 50 in the y, and I think that might just work. Okay, let's see what I got wrong here. So new location, new location, new location.
You have to move over.
Sorry, what's that?
So one way you could pass the location is if you pass the column and the row, because so you're not setting the tile anymore, because that also used the location parameter. But if you pass the column and the row, then you can. So if you leave that variable as is,
Yeah.
And in your function, pass vx, vy, column, and row.
Yeah. How do I get the column and
But
row out of this local variable though?
yeah, there's no way to do that. Yeah. So
Can't
yeah,
set
the
a block.
tile thing's just going to have to be pulled out too.
Set tile.
Well, this should work as it is right now, right?
No, because it's
You're
going to keep
setting at
triggering the
0, 0.
overlap. If you remember the reason that we
Oh,
set
yeah,
the tile
yes.
to, yeah.
Oh, tricky. So let's see. What we might be able to do. Okay, sorry.
If
If
you
you
set
set the
new location before you call the function, then you can use new location inside your function.
Right. So we can do that. And now when how does that help?
You need
On
to use the
overlap
variable and new location in the set tile block inside the on overlap arrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So use the new location variable right there.
Mm-hmm. So this is creating the floor tile.
Yep. So you want to use the new location because that's the location of the tile.
Oh, I see. I was misunderstanding my mistake. There we go. Cool. So that's kind of working.
Awesome.
All right. It was surprisingly tricky to get there. We thought it was going to be easy, and then it turned out to be a little bit tricky. But I think that's basically what we want right now in terms of the sort of on rails movement. And I can sort of modify this to add more arrows. Let me just add finish that up so I don't have to come back to that. So let's add maybe an arrow there, to the right, down, left, and we'll say the final sort of objective is over here, and maybe I'll add a final kind of objective location. This is where you want to be here. So when you hit that, you win the game, maybe. Okay, for testing, I'm going to leave that where it is. So let me just add the game win condition real quick. So scene, now we can just say when the player overlaps this, then we win. Okay, now since it's a one-button game, we want to be able to stop the player when you're probably holding a button, huh? So
Well, we're actually we're running out of time for today, so maybe we should pick this up again tomorrow.
Yeah, we still have 10 minutes. I think I might add just the pause thing. I think I can pull it off.
Okay.
Let's try real quick. So I'm gonna say if you hit the A button, oh, we have to remember our old velocity. That's fine. Then I'm gonna store the velocity. Let's do new variable current vx and new variable current vy, and let's do sprite x and y velocities. So the idea is that when you press the button, you remember what your speed was, and this is going to have to be if you're moving. So I'm going to say if your velocity is, this is getting a little complicated. So let's see, I'm going to say if the velocity x component or y component is greater than 0, there's no easier.
I mean, you're always moving, so I don't think you need this.
Yeah, I don't think you need the condition.
Well, I'm about to stop.
So I thought you were going to do it so when on A pressed you stop, on A released you go again.
Oh, I forgot you can do that. Yeah. Okay. So on pressed, we save the velocities, and then we set the velocity to 0. And now, when it's released, we just set them back to those variables, I think. Current vx and current vy. Let's see how that works. That's kind of the effect we want, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're on our way to making a game. I wonder if something weird could happen. Yeah, it's a little bit weird if you hold the button right as you're overlapping the block, but we can fix that in the next stream. Great. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I'm Daryl at Darzoo on the forum, and with me are...
I'm Joey at JWonderall on the forum.
I'm Shannon. I'm at Shakao on the forum.
And I'm Richard at Richard on the forum.
Thanks for tuning in. And next time we will continue this game and see if we can get some gameplay elements going. All right. Thanks.